Well, what wasn't sitting here that long ago, and the sun came up this morning, and we actually beat the sun up this morning, so it was good for us. We had a good workout, we had good attitudes. I think they were probably expecting the worst, and it wasn't the worst. I started reading them. Started reading to them this morning. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so you watch TV and you get on social media, and so I learned a lot. Obviously, I knew how great Kobe Bryant was, but I learned a whole lot about what made him great. I think besides being a really super athletic guy, his passion for excellence is what separated him. And hearing some of the stories about him, and showing up at 3 o'clock in the morning after missing a shot and perfecting that shot to the tune of 500 shots in a row. So I read him some stories about that, and just to stress that when something's really important to you, you figure it out, and success will follow. And so I think that's a good, relevant wrestling lesson, but I think it's a life lesson too. And so ultimately that's what we're supposed to do. So I know that there's some people out there that are probably frustrated with me, kind of starting last week at this time, that I was challenging and maybe even calling out our guys. But I think as coaches, we're educators, and we have I think a certain responsibility to make sure that there's a process and you do things right. And it's okay if you do things wrong and you make mistakes, as long as we learn from it. And I think that's where we're at right now, is that we got a really talented team, and we've got some great individuals, and I can tell you this coaching staff believes in them 100%. But when you make mistakes, it's okay, you make mistakes, and you learn from your mistakes, and you go forward. And so that's kind of where we're at right now, is that we've got to, and it's not so much technical mistakes, it's mostly just trying to feel good in a very, very competitive, tough sport. And it's tough being a college wrestler and not being able to do and eat and stay up sometimes for these guys that some of the other kids get to do. We bark at them and tell them that you're different, you're different, you're different. Here's how you got to be different, but they're still kids. And so as we get more mature and realize that, and I think we got the guys out there that really want to win, and we just have to keep harping at them a little bit, and we got to learn lessons the hard way, and we learned a hard lesson yesterday. So go for it.
How close was Jarrett Dagan to wrestling yesterday?
Fairly close, and I get criticized sometimes because I probably say too much in what's going on. But Jarrett's shoulder's not going to be perfect the rest of the year. It's a factor, all right. It's not going to be 100%, and we've tried a couple of things to try to rest him and get him strong, and he's very, very strong. But it's just a very quirky shoulder, and so shoulders and wrestling, shoulder surgeries and wrestling isn't exactly a great marriage, and they all come back differently. And so his has been a little bit of a struggle. We might have to go back in after the season and look at it, but we got to go now. And so we've been kind of in a pattern of getting him strong in wrestling, and we have some really, really good workouts, and then we get a ding. And so we're going this weekend if we don't get a ding today. If we get a ding, we might have to. So he's still day to day. But luckily, Jarrett Dagan is one tough dude. If you know the history of his shoulder, he tore his labrum Thursday night at the NCAA tournament last year. Tore it, which is a pretty significant shoulder injury, and he All-American 2 days later. So if anybody can pull it off, he can. But he's strong. He's in the workouts he's been, he's looked really good. I know he's excited to get back out there. So we're glad that the plan is right now that he's the first guy on the hit parade to step out there for us at 149, but we've got Ryan Leisure, who I think is making improvements too. He'll travel with us as well.
You sort of answered my next question, but how does his shoulder, especially for a guy like Jarrett, affect his wrestling? Because he is a little bit funky with it sometimes, so how does that affect him?
Well, he's going to have to change his style a little bit, there's no question. Yeah, he's going to have to tone it down a little bit in certain positions, and there's certain positions that he's super funky that he can stay in. So he's going to have to manage it, and I think he realizes that.
It's been 5 hours since you said you're going to start, micromanaging this team. When you told them this morning in practice, how do they react? What's their
Well, that's a very good question because they did. They reacted, and I really kind of went to bed last night, not very long, but went to bed last night thinking, okay, I'm curious to see who shows up, what they look like, what they weigh. So we set up weigh-ins right away at 6:25 this morning, and everybody was where they needed to be. Everybody looked good. So it tells me a lot about the character of this team because you're going to go through some hard times. That's just a long wrestling season. You're going to go through some hard times, but you learn the most and you get the toughest when you go through those hard times. I mean, look what Oklahoma State, I'm sure Coach Smith probably got on that bus pretty happy last night because they did not have a good night on the night before, Saturday night. And what a test for his team. I'm sure he learned a lot about his team Sunday. And so now it's time for us to learn about our team. And what I learned this morning was good. I really believe in these guys, and I think they understand that they're going to have to pay a price to get what they want at the end of the year to contend for a Big 12 championship. And good start.
At some point after Sam Colbray's match, I saw you when he was sitting on the bench and you were talking to him. Just if you want to share, what were you discussing with him after that match? Because I know it was a very frustrating.
I think just how talented he is. How talented he is, and he went away from what we were doing a little bit, and that's probably on me a little bit. In that I probably should have just kept micromanaging because he did a really good job from the time we made the decision to go to 74 for about 3 weeks. But him and I were communicating multiple times a day, and there was a lot of weight checking and everything. And I kind of turned it over to him last week, and I just reminded him. I said, look how well we did. Look at the progress we made, and we took a step back this week because I put it on you, and you didn't do the things you did the first 3 weeks. So Sam's a smart guy. He just got to make those choices.
This is obviously day one of the micromanaging.
Micromanaging camp, yeah, right.
Micromanaging camp. Do
30 days.
you have a timetable for how long you want to be doing this?
I told you it's exhausting, so we'll do it all the way through if we have to, And I think sometimes with individuals is, again, this is kind of an older guy talking here, but when I was an athlete, I wanted a coach in my ear every day. I wanted somebody holding me accountable, pushing me. I think it made me better, and I think the teammates that I can remember, I think that we all experienced that. So I think there probably needs to be a little bit of micromanaging all the way to the end, but ultimately we want them to get it, and like I read yesterday is that we have to ultimately teach them how to do it on their own. So you turn a guy like Ian Parker loose and he gets it. You don't need to tell him to come in for that extra workout. You don't need to tell him to stay after and do this. He just gets it. We just got to get more guys thinking like that.
What sign are you looking for from your guys that they do get it now?
I think it's going to take a little time. Just weight management's a funny thing, and feeling good's a funny thing. We've got the wrestling ability. We got to close matches out better. If you look at 3 or 4 matches, we didn't close out very good. You close those matches out, and we're having a totally different discussion. So we're talking about a game of inches, but I think 2 or 3 weeks of doing it right, you'll start seeing results. So we need to start seeing some results here pretty soon. But I don't know. I'm just going to say this is going to be a bumpy week or two. I used that word when I got hired, bumpy. It's going to be a bumpy week or two. So the Fairweather Cyclone fans are already gone, and they're probably going to stay gone for a while because it's going to be bumpy.
Yesterday you said David Carr's about a minute away from really making a good run at NCAAs. What's he have to do to get that extra minute in him?
David did a really good job on the things that we're talking about. He did a really good job with kind of those little things of managing his diet, his weight, and everything better this week. I think he's got to put a couple of weeks like that together. And I think, and it's a good time to be where he's at. We don't want everybody right now. It's late January. We don't want everybody right now in tip-top shape. We got to keep climbing.
He's a guy that's obviously David is a lot of success in his career. I mean, 5-time state champion, junior world championship this last year. I don't want to say he's going through a little bit of adversity right now because he's still winning a whole bunch of matches, but he did lose earlier in the year, and you want more out of him. How good is it for him to get some of this adversity right now?
Well, the season's a grind, especially for a freshman. I mean, you look at what David did yesterday. He made your decision and really worked hard to major decision, a top 20 ranked guy in the nation. That's pretty, for a freshman. That's putting a lot on a freshman. There's not many freshmen that can go out there And you know, when you're wrestling a guy that's I think he's a 4th or 5th year guy, and you go out and you put it on yourself to go out and get a major decision. Now that's a really good thing for a freshman. So yeah, David's not perfect. None of us are perfect, but he's definitely trending. You know, he's getting himself in a position, and he's coachable, and he can hear the things that maybe sometimes you don't want to hear, but you're willing to do it because you want to win, and he wants to win.
From here on out, Gannon Gremmel is going to face a guy possibly right in around in the rankings where he is. Do you see that this next month leading up to Big 12s is going to be incredibly important for him?
Yeah, I think we just got to get Gannon to kind of fire more offense, and as he gets more confident, he's got a really good shot, and I'm hoping he's listening and say that he's got a really good shot. He's a little tentative to pull the trigger in big matches, but some of the shots we see in the room, we've just got to keep progressing. So as he gets more confidence, he can start hitting those shots. I think he separates himself from those mid-level guys. You know, heavyweight's a funny animal in that if you don't have a good shot, shooting can be the kiss of death, and you're down 2 points right away. So it's usually one or the other, and so you really got to have that confidence to go pull the trigger. And he's really, you know, really putting the reps in the room. I think he's going to get that confidence real soon.
How important is getting the trust back in your guys in terms of those lifestyle issues that you talked about yesterday? How important is building that trust back up to where, like you talked about earlier, where after that 2 to 3 weeks, the micromanaging doesn't need to be a thing anymore?
Yeah, I hope we can get there. You know, I think we're going to have to watch some of these guys all the way through, and if they're really dead honest, they'll say, hey, you know what, coach, you need to hold my hand all the way through, and if you hold my hand, I trust you. And so, but we got to see it. You know, I got to see it consistently now. I'm burn me once, but not burn me twice kind of deal.
Anything else, guys?